Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Nodge Spotlight on the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel. It's our weekly sort of roundup of the week gone by, although Norwich haven't played in the week gone by due to another international break. I hope there's not another one soon. Oh, wait, there is. Oh, never mind. But anyway, this will be more a preview of the week to come for Norwich City. Stoke City awaits them at the weekend, a trip up to the Britannia. I'm Freddie Humphrey Wakefield. I'm not going up to Stoke, but I'm joined by Will Grant, who I know loves an away trip. So first things first, Will, before you tell us all how you've been, and of course you missed the podcast, so we'll have to definitely know how you've been because it's been a little bit longer since we all saw you here on the channel. Are you heading up to the Britannia, or are you going to sit out this one?
I'm sitting out, unfortunately, mate. I would have loved to have gone, actually, but I think last time I looked at Stoke away last season, and it looked like an absolute ball like to try and get to. Well, I think that's the thing is with Norwich, isn't it? Like, it's so far away from everywhere. Like it takes us like an hour to get out of Thetford, even, doesn't it? So, yeah, it's quite an annoying one that I can't make it. But overall, mate, I'm good. Well, I was good until you mentioned the international break situation. But, mate, we're taking them off now, aren't we? One's down. I'm now like halfway through another one as well. So hopefully we're getting towards the back end of it now, and the festival of football towards Christmas time is coming, and that is the best time of the season. Best time of the season, sorry, for me anyway. So I'm all good, mate. How are you?
No, mate, I'm all good. I'm looking forward to it. It's good to have Norwich City back at the weekend. I hate international breaks. They're pointless. You know, albeit some of our players have gone off and done okay. You know, Josh Sargent's now playing under Maurizio Pochettino for the American national team, which I actually completely forgot he became the USA manager. Cade Gordon ended up scoring for the England under-20s team, I believe. Brad Hills and Kellum Fisher also played, which is great for them. Of course, Marcelino Nunez will get onto him actually as the first talking point, really. So actually that's brought me on quite nicely to that. I didn't think that would flow so nicely there. Of course, May be injured. It looks as if that just when he started going on international duty with Chile, there was I believe it was a hamstring problem, and that was the injury which came up. And of course, that can be a nasty one. You can end up missing maybe 3-4 weeks, depending on how bad the injury is. And of course, has been such an important player for Norwich over the season, well, this season especially, and over sort of the last quarter of last season, scored some big goals, some great goals even, and of course scored against Hull City. That was another absolute corker from the boy. But it could be a big miss if he is to be injured, and will he be missing? It is a massive question that I'm sure that'll be the first one Johannes Torp is asked by the boys at the Pinken. But that could be big. A player who, since the departure of Gabriel Sara, has really seems as if he's come to life a bit more. He has a bit more freedom to run the show and be the main man in midfield, be that midfield creative outlet for Norwich. But will he be missing? It's a big question. And if he is, how are Norwich going to get their heads around that and have one less player who can maybe carve out a Stoke team who are almost renowned for playing a very deep back line?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an absolutely big blow if Nunez is missing. I think we've seen it actually across the season, that if you have Nunez in the team and then you contrast it with our bench and you look at Schwartown, Force, and they are like different type of profiles to Nunez, actually. And I feel like, though, I feel like Nunez has given the team so much this season on the ball. He's actually kind of played more like advanced recently after Slimani has come into the team. So definitely a player who is giving the team so much more quality, and we've also now seen as well with his goal threat against Hull. So I feel like only scores bangers, doesn't he? But yeah, absolutely made up from actually this season because he's been so good. And if he's injured, I'm actually really annoyed because he gives the team so much on the ball. His combinational play, his technical precision, and actually on the ball is absolutely so undervalued for Nodge and even underappreciated, actually, because it feels like he's so important for us to try and get control in a game. And he showcased to do that on a really, really good frequent basis as well across the season. So I just think he also works really nicely, actually, with McLean and Samane. I think those who kind of give more of like a license to attack and play more forward. And it feels like we say during preseason, actually, that it feels like this is like signs and Nunez' season actually to like really kick on after Sarah and Rowe leaving. And it feels like so far Nunez is just continuing his form actually. I think probably since I think Nunez has been actually probably one of our better players now. Probably I'd say since Ipswich away last season. I think he's just been so good and consistent since then. Albeit he's played like 2 different roles since then. But yeah, if he's missing, it's an absolutely huge blow for us because he gives us so much on the ball and even off the ball as well. He's a very very hungry player and tenacious player off the ball as well. So that could be a big blow, mate. But that's the thing, isn't it, with the championship, isn't it? There's so many games and so many short space of time, so anything could happen really. But yeah, if he's out for a while, it could be a big blow. But hopefully, the news sounds slightly positive as well. So I'm hoping that Marcelino is back for Stoke. But if not, I have faith that Schwartau, Forster, etc. Marconis can even come into the team and play really well.
No, they could well do. And it's actually a great point that you raise about the games coming thick and fast in this league, because this is the first of 3 in a week for Norwich. This is really where you said about the festival of football around Christmas time. That is where games they fly out. You're almost guaranteed to be playing 2 a week around the sort of from November to January. But it's a great point that you raise because it's coming at exactly this time. So Norwich have got to play Stoke away, Preston North End away in midweek. That will either be the Tuesday or the Wednesday. It just, regardless, whoever goes up to Preston on that night, fair play to you. Whoever is going to Stoke, fair play to you. That's dedication to the cause. And why not with how well Norwich are playing at the minute? And then there's one home game in those 3, and it's the home game which, if Norwich fail to, or if they don't lose rather, that will then mark, it will go on to being a year unbeaten at Carrow Road. It's against Middlesbrough, a team who, well, we were talking about it yesterday between one another, Will, just chatting away about it. It's a game where, well, we can look at maybe all 3, just quickly see how we see them planning out. Of course, Stoke is sort of bit more the main focus of today's video, but it just seemed that those other 2 games, what do you make of them? Because for me personally, just looking at them, Preston away is, we usually do all right there. Of course, last 2 visits, we beat them last season and we were dreadful away from home last season. So that says a lot. And then I believe the season before that was David Wagner's first game. We played them off the pitch and won 4-0. Of course, that is new manager bounce in hindsight. But Preston away, it can prove difficult. Well, when we won the title the first time under Farker, we lost there in midweek and it was a banana skin. But they're a team who, well, they've already had 3 different managers this season. They usually start very well in the Championship and then just drop off sort of around this sort of time and then just slowly meander into mid-table, maybe get one more little rise like we saw last season and just push a little bit. But they just seem a team that's destined for mid-table in this division. And then you go on to Middlesbrough afterwards, a team who we know can cause Norwich a lot of issues, spanked us 5-1. I can't really use any other adjective to describe it or verb rather. We got absolutely torn apart at the Riverside in a midweek game. And they've got good results against us as of late. Of course, Norwich will always have the playoff final, and I'm sure that will be used to try and get a bit of a reaction out of the Middlesbrough fans. But another game in which could be an interesting one, as Middlesbrough, again, a bit like Preston, but they're more up there a lot more of a season. Middlesbrough are a strong team with a strong manager in Michael Carrick, who has proven he can really get up there and challenge for the playoffs. Of course, we're in the playoffs 2 seasons ago when Coventry ended up winning the playoff final. So they can be up there. They've got a talented squad, albeit lost quite a few individuals that were excellent for them over the last 2 seasons. But when you pair Stoke into that as well, 3 games in a week, maybe we could see a bit of rotation and a bit of a selection headache for Torup as he thinks, who can I play? Who do I need to keep in the team to stay fit? Who do I maybe risk who I want to play all 3 games rather? It's going to be an interesting one, and they're 3 games. They're coming thick and fast, which maybe make them a bit more difficult than what first is previewed on paper. And really the question I mainly want to ask, how many points do you reckon Norwich will get out of these 3 games? Because that's, of course, the main thing that you want to look at after a tough period. How well have Norwich come in, and will they get out of it unscathed, or will we see that when the games come thick and fast, this squad could struggle?
Yeah, I think these 3 games are definitely going to be a marker of how well we can do over a short game period, especially against 2 really, really good, well-drilled sides. I think definitely this week is going to test our consistency because obviously we've got quite a young group. And I feel like if we come out this week unbeaten still, then I think you definitely have to consider Nodge as a playoff chasing team. Albeit I think Norwich have shown signs this season that and we could be classified as like a top 2 team. I still think we see more evidence against these sides like Stoke and Preston that we can actually go there, dominate, and get really, really good performance and 3 points as well. So time will tell on that front. Look, I think Stoke and Preston back-to-back is not a very nice duo, especially after Norwich play Swansea away after the last international break as well. So it's 2 really hard games after the international break, really. So how Norwich are going to do against them is going to be difficult. I think Norwich have got a very, very tough game after that against Borough as well, which I'm sure we'll touch on. And it feels like if Norwich I want to be a very, very good side this season, want to get pushed to the playoffs, and I think they're going to have to bring the game to Stoke and Stoke and Preston, because I think both of those sides will try and set quite rigid structures to try and prevent Norwich from playing. Either they sit back and try and be aggressive in a low block, or they try and press Norwich and try and win the ball high and win turnovers. Time will soon tell, really. But I just think Norwich have got to show the character which is showcased at Coventry Derby to try and get over the line, because look, they're going to be 2 really, really good tests for the club and see how we can get on. But from a points perspective, I think out of Stoke and Preston, I do see Norwich picking up. Oh, I don't know. I did say quite a bad point to you last night, but I don't know if I could back it up.
Nah, you got to back yourself. You can't back down. You got to double down. You can't back down now.
So I might have said to Freddie last night that we might lose against Stoke and draw against Preston. I just think those games, especially, I'm sure we'll touch on Narcis Pellick in a second for Stoke, but those 2 games especially are just going to be very, very hard. And I think they'll be quite strict ones against us. Look, I know we're playing so well at the minute, but I just think, I don't know. It's really hard to kind of predict Norwich. I just feel, especially you see at Derby away, that although Norwich can be good in spells and moments across the game, they still didn't feel like they were in control of that game. So I'm not overly confident on a second Preston game, and I just think Borough as well at home following Sunday. Sorry, I should say Sky TV again. Must say, well done, lads. Great shift for the Borough fans. Can also touch on the Borough thing again. Those Borough fans, I think they've got to play Hull away also this Sunday as well at 3 p.m. So they've got 2 Sunday 3 p.m. kickoffs in the space of 3 weeks. So the game's gone, mate. Anyway, Borough, I said to you last night also that I think they're probably with a wild card to get top 2 this season. We really like Michael Carrick and the things he's doing there. I think they are a very, very unlucky side at the minute. I think they could have got more points, especially the Watford game they played recently and other away games that they lost. And the stats and data are very, very good as well. So Norwich are going to have a very, very tough game to try and retain their a big record at home. But time will tell. I'm going to be really horrible. I just don't think we're going to get a win this last 3 games. I think I'm just so pessimistic, mate, and I just can't. Look, we've been playing so well recently, and I just think Stoke and Preston and the Championship is so humbling as well, especially when you've got Cordoba, Nunez, etc. Come back so late from international duty, Sargent as well. I just think it might take a bit of time for us to click, and the break might come at the wrong time. But don't get me wrong, Norwich got quality, and they can go to all of those sides and win. So time will tell, mate. But hopefully, Norwich can come back with some really good points.
Well, I'm going to disagree with that ludicrous call that Norwich are only going to get 2 points, or it may not be ludicrous. Who knows? You could have hit the nail perfectly on the head. They are, as you say, you've weighed it up really well there. Actually, Will, you've brought in the pros and the cons. Of course, they are tough games. For any game in this league can be tough. You know, that's proven. Anyone on any given day, regardless of where you are in the table in this league, can beat anyone. That's the brilliant unpredictability of not just football, but also the Championship. Yes, Preston, we've done well against as of late, and really should be a team Norwich will beat. They've got a lot better quality than them. You can say the same for Stoke, but then, as you said, we'll touch on the factor of Narcis Pellick in a second, and how Norwich will maybe, they could get out-tacticked by one of their own coaching staff who was even here this season. So there's there's a big factor of that. We will get onto that at some point. But no, do I think 2 points? No, I'm going to go even bigger. I think Norwich will get 7 points out of these 3. I think a draw with Stoke, I think we'll just about get there due to individual quality, I reckon. But
mate, that's top 2 form, mate. That's
exactly.
top 2 form.
It's top 2 form. Do I think we'll get top 2?
Freddie, mate, you're dreaming, and I absolutely love it, mate. You're dreaming, and I just can't get there yet. I'm just pressing the bar low to get even more excited, but nah, mate, I'm sorry. I love JHT, but I think you're going a bit too north there. But you know what? I love it. Good on you, mate. Good on you.
No, you got to dream. You've got to dare to dream when we're playing this well. You've got to think, right, come on, just get behind the boys. Just go for it. Just let's get the rally cries up and let's properly go for it. But no, they will all be tough. If Norwich did get, even if they drew every game, I wouldn't be mad about it as long as as long as the game went down the route of it always looked like Norwich were going to get a point. But who knows? I mean, I'm saying 7 points simply because I think Preston and Borough, I think we can do them both. I think Preston, it will be, of course, for the players as well, a tough journey to make. It is a long way on a Tuesday night. You can think of that factor. But these are players who have made much longer trips than that over the course of their careers. I'm sure of it. But I think that with individual quality and the fact we do arguably have a better manager, I think we can really cause a lot of issues for them. Middlesbrough as well, it's weird because it depends on what version of Middlesbrough shows up. Of course, we've both said that they are a very good team and they've got a good manager. But as well, you said you believe a wild card to get top 2. For me, I personally disagree with that. I don't think Middlesbrough are reaching that level just yet. I think they're a bit too inconsistent at times, and they've proven that over the last 2 seasons. Really, of course, ended up in the playoffs, but looked at one point they were shaking and they weren't going to be in it. Last season were up there at times, but eventually just really fell off and just slided down the table. So I think that could maybe help us out. And of course, we're at home, where it has nearly been a year where we haven't lost. That will be a huge factor, well, not just for Middlesbrough in wanting to end it, but maybe for our players of, right, we have this great record. There's a mental thing maybe of, it could end today, but I'm sure that, I keep thinking that every home game that we have. I thought that against Hull, thinking, they're in good form. It could be a tough test. This could be the game. And we ended up absolutely playing them off the pitch. And so who knows? It could be the perfect one. It just depends on how Torup and his coaching team approach it tactically and how Middlesbrough as well approach it in how they look to break us down. But that will be a big thing with Stoke, as we've alluded to a little bit. Of course, their current manager is Narcis Pelac, who was the assistant coach to Yahannisov Torup at the start of the season. He was here for, I believe it was the first 4 games Norwich played this season before he ended up going to Stoke with Paul Clements, the goalkeeper coach. So a man who knows a lot about a lot of the Norwich players that are in this team right now, having worked with them, of course, under David Wagner as well. And so he knows a lot about our players and the way we want to play. He knows about Yahannisov Torup and Glenn Riddlesham and a bit more of that backroom staff, and he knows exactly how Norwich want to play and their patterns of play. So that could make it a lot harder of a game for Yahannisov Torup in a tactical sense of he's up against someone who he was working with a couple of months ago and who he implemented all of these ideologies into. And Pelac is a really knowledgeable guy on football. I don't know if any of our viewers have been watching the recent documentary the club have been putting out, but I think it was either the first or second episode, and Pelac is having this meeting with all of the attacking players, and he just has this in-depth understanding and this tactical mindset about football. He just seems so knowledgeable on so many different areas, and he's made it public before he even went to Stoke. He wanted to be a first team manager, but at the time, when Norwich sacked David Wagner, Palac wasn't in the conversation. Of course, didn't end up becoming first team manager. So maybe that shows you what Norwich thought of that as an idea. But it could make it a lot harder because, as already said, he knows so much about this team and he was working with Torup as of late. That really could make it a long old afternoon at the Britannia for Norwich because Palac he'll know everything about this team. And what do you make of that, Will? Do you think that could really ruin Norwich in this game and they'll have to just try about 3 or 4 different tactics throughout the game to try and get a result? Or are we maybe looking into this far too much and Torup has got this plan B in his mind where he executes it, Palac ends up dumbfounded, and maybe we stick 6 past Stoke and we run away with a glorious 3 points?
Absolutely not, mate. I think you're talking real sense there, as per. I just do think with what Fopp has actually showcased during the last few games is that he showcases tactical flexibility to switch up the shapes. I mean, I think we've seen in his build-up structures the fact that he's willing to kind of change the different personnel and play in different players in different roles. So, for example, he recently played one of the fullbacks to invert in field, and previously it was one of the midfielders to kind of play in that like settled 2-3-5 shape in possession as well. So I think he has showcased, for example, that he's willing to kind of change roles in and amongst the team to kind of keep the manager guessing, and hopefully that is showcased across the weekend. Really, I think there's definitely room for Norwich to try and also try and break down Stoke's qualities as well, because I feel like Stoke are quite a difficult team to play against in the sense that I think they're still quite an unknown quantity. And look, if you look at the team they played against, I think it was Hull. They played quite a rigid midfield with midfielders that are quite more defensively orientated and they're much more tenacious. Whereas the game against Swansea, he played quite a lot of midfielders who are more attacking minded. The likes of Andrew Moran was playing, the likes of Louis Kumas, John Hobey. So there's definitely a lot of Stoke players there who have got quality, and it's just, I don't know how balanced and how attacking minded that Pellet's going to go against Norwich. It's going to be very, very interesting to watch, actually. And I think both of these teams will try and out chess each other as the game goes on. Really, it's going to be a very, very interesting game to observe, even for the neutral, really. And I just wonder if they're going to cancel each other out. And that is kind of where my thoughts are at right now. Albeit, I think Norwich are actually in like a better space than Stoke right now. Their patterns are more structured and much more rigid, and they can lead to better results. But I just do generally think Pellet will have the necessary personnel in place to try and dent Norwich. And I just wonder if it's going to be quite a scrappy game, especially after the first game back, which we saw against Swansea as well. So that's my thoughts on how Pellet is probably going to go into this game. But how do you see it go, mate? Do you think it's going to be a very, very tactical game where maybe they might cancel each other out, or do you think that Norwich's form and more time with JHT is going to probably edge them through the game?
I'd see it as the former there. This will be a game where there will be a lot of just different tactics going on, as you said, almost like a game of chess. Just how can you try and get yourself 1 or 2 steps ahead in this game? Because as we've already covered, Palac he knows almost everything there is to know in a tactical sense about this Norwich team, because he's worked with all of them and he's worked with them very recently. That is a huge factor for this game. That is what could make it a lot more difficult, in the fact that he will know exactly what to do to counter this team. But as we've both now said, Torup can change up his system dependent on opposition. That's, of course, what any manager should do. But how can he do it in order to get this to work? How can he do this to get a result against the guy who he was implementing all of these ideas to? And it's a big, big headache for Torup and the coaching staff, because just how do you do it? It's such a bit. That is the big question for this game. That is the big point of if Norwich are going to get either a win or maybe a draw in this game, or maybe even lose it. That is the huge factor of how is Yohannes Torup approaching this game to be able to just completely go against what Palac thought he would do, because it's so hard. It must be really difficult in terms of how the coaching staff look to approach this one. Of course, Norwich have got better quality and are the side in better form. There's no question about that. But it doesn't matter really. If you got to take it one game at a time, especially in this league, and we're still so early on into the season. But it's a bit of a bigger test than maybe what some people might think. Of course, Stoke under a new manager, maybe still have the new manager bounce, but it's just, I'm going to sound like a broken record because I keep saying it so much, but Palac just knows this team inside out, and that is really what worries me, and maybe what will worry a lot more people. It will prove very, very difficult. In terms of how I see it, maybe planning out to actually answer your question, I just think we absolutely play these off the pitch. I think Torap's got it in the locker. Maybe I'm getting really carried away, and I should be a bit more level-headed as I want to try and be a bit more like that now on the channel. But sometimes you got to get a little bit excited about things, and maybe you get a little bit giddy at times. But I think Torap is a smart enough guy, and even though he's young, I think he's got enough experience in coaching. And he probably has come up against people he's worked with before. Maybe he hasn't. If this is the first time, then that will make it a lot more difficult for him. But it's the same with Palac in a way that he knows a lot about this team. Will he be second-guessing himself and thinking that, right, well, I know what Norwich want to do, but are they going to change it? Let me look at how they change games. And maybe Torap just thinks, oh, well, you know what? If he thinks that, and I think he will think that this is a big hypothetical butterfly effect thing I'm on about here. So stay with me if you're losing it a little bit. But maybe Torap just thinks, oh, well, Palac might think I'm going to go different. Let me just play simple. And then
mind games, yeah.
Exactly. Big mind games. Big mind games. Torap goes simple, and simplicity could be perfect. And Norwich could just go to the Britannia, what is synonymously a bit of a difficult place to go, but it's gotten a little bit easier as the years have gone on. Of course, they don't have Rory Delap, Ricardo Fuller, and Tony Pulis anymore. But maybe Norwich just rock up, just play gorgeous football, stick a couple of goals past them, and we just walk away, and we're all very happy, and we move on to the next game. But yeah, how I see it coming out, I just think quality will be the key for Norwich, and we've got more of it. And if players can keep up the form they're in, then we'll be completely fine. Of course, an international break doesn't help because it's 2 weeks without playing, but I'm sure the players who have been training under Torap, I'm sure they would have been intense. They get a lot more sort of one-to-one time with him, and they'll probably know exactly what he wants over that game. That will be the main focus, I'd imagine, in those training sessions. But everyone will be coming back now, and they can learn what's needed of them. And I just think quality-wise, that's what will get Norwich through this game. And we've proven that we can really cause a lot of issues for sides that we thought would cause Norwich issues. So I just think we're going to do them. I just think we'll go to the Britannia, we'll rock up, and we'll be all right, and we'll just be comfortable, I reckon, because I think the mind games are really going to get to either one of the managers. So, but we'll see in the result who it got to a bit more. So then, after a bit of a monologue and a rally cry, we better actually sort of get a bit more back on track. So, Will, predicted 11s. We love doing these. So, who have you gone for? Who do you think that Torap will go for at the Britannia? Or maybe is it a bit more what you would like to see, maybe?
Well, I think both of us would like to see Angus Gunn in goal. Obviously, George Long came into the team against Hull and did okay and did what he was supposed to do. So that's good. But obviously, Angus has just showcased across the last 18 months how good he is, really. So I play Angus in goal, obviously. Callum Fisher, right now, it feels like to me, he's like the first team on the team sheet right now, playing so well, inverting in field, whilst also showing that, exactly that. Well, showing a bit of physical and defensive edge as well with his tackles. Very, very industrious and tenacious player, as well as a very, very good technical player. And then obviously, I'll go for Shane Duffy at centre half. I think he's been superb over the last month. Arguably my player in the month, actually, across the last month in September, although it's so hard to dislodge more signs. But Duffy's been very, very good. And you could tell that JHT has worked with him really, really closely with his technical work, because actually in recent games, I think Duffy started the second goal against Hull, finding an absolutely beautiful pass into Cernat. So that is very, very well and encouraging. But for me, I've slightly tweaked my left-hand side, and that's mainly due to a couple of factors. I've gone for Callum Doyle centre half and Ben Frisell left back. I've just gone Callum Doyle at centre half because I think looking at Stoke play over the course of this season, they've got two very, very bright talents on the flanks in Louis Koumas and my pronunciation here, Jean Hobey. So both of those players have been very, very good and very, very direct and quick. So I think if you go for Ben Frisell, who's a bit more athletic and a bit more physical and a bit more speedy, then I think that will kind of complement the team nicely in defence, and then he can try and use Callum Doyle's passing abilities from central, because obviously I think he's showcased right now across the season that he's been so integral for Norwich on the ball with deep areas. So that's how I would go for it. Also, my other reason is obviously Cordoba. I think all the South Americans get back late from international duty as well. So I just want to try and protect Jose and then bring him back in against Preston. That's kind of my mentality. Although actually we were saying before recording actually, mate, that it feels like right now it's so hard to kind of replace players out of the team because all of them are performing so well and arguably at a top 2 level, especially at home. So it's quite hard to try and find the right balance between players playing well and rewarding them with starts, whilst also thinking about what other teams bring to the table as well. But midfield, I've gone for McLean and Slimane. Happy with that. Maybe Slimane drops a bit deeper and he pushed Kenny up into more of like an advanced a midfielder for this game. And then I'll probably go for, next to those two, Emmanuel Forson. I know Oscar Schwartel, actually, I think I'll probably go for Schwartel, actually, to be honest with you. But I just think Forson kind of gives us that bit of speed on the half turn. And I think if Stoke are going to be brave and try and man mark Norwich in midfield, then I think Forson is actually better of trying to beat his man on the half turn and escaping through Stoke's kind of quite high attacking pressing line. So that's how I would probably go and approach this game, just have a bit more speed in midfield. But I think you might go for Oscar Schwartel there, just have more like a natural right footer on like a more technical right footer on in midfield, because obviously you've got Kenny McLean there, who's actually very, very good technical left midfielder, whilst also I think Shortell kind of gives you that bit of technical class from a right-sided perspective as well. So that's how I see it, but I would probably just go for Forson, because I think Stoke might set up and be quite brave with the midfielders and try and push them quite hard to try and win turnovers against Norwich. So I think if Stoke do go man for man in midfield, then I think Forson's got the better talent at negotiating passes, man. That's how I see it, but time will tell. And then front three for me stays the same. Bordestein and Sargent have been so good for Norwich over the last few games. Sargent's goal tally doesn't even demonstrate how good he's been for Norwich. Such a selfless striker. He gives you so much in behind to feet aerially. Just such a really good player for Norwich. And even his passing in the last game against Hull was superb. Absolutely brilliant to see. So, and Signs as well. He's in the form of his Norwich career right now as well. So he's a definite starter for me as well. And Ante Cernach, I think although at the start recently of his Norwich career, he hasn't kind of hit the heights just yet. Maybe I think that's probably because obviously when Norwich play a 2-3-5 shape instead of possession, he's one that's got to try and provide a width on the right hand side. But I think actually Sargent is probably better when he's actually in one of those pocket positions and he's actually closer to Sargent and Signs. So that's where I think it's gone slightly wrong for Sargent, and he's been slightly less effective. But actually, I think in the last two games against Leeds and Hull, I've actually been very impressed actually with his transition speed. I think he's been very, very quick and very, very good with his passes, and we're not getting the attacking third as well. So I think there's promise in Cernach in the last two games. I hope he gets his goal, because I feel like when Norwich spend so much money on a very, very talented attacker who they spent about £10 million on, then I think you've got to try and expect some short-term output instead of long-term output as well. So that those who have got to marinate together nicely, so Nodge are actually getting really good value for their money. We've seen his potential, but I just think we need a bit more from Cernach right now. But I think it's actually showcased in his last two games that there's definitely a player in there. Freddie, any changes, or are you going to go same as me?
I'm not going for the same as you, but from Torup's last starting 11 selection, I've only made one change, and it's in an attacking sense. So beginning in goal, Angus Gunn, if he's fit, play him, because he is simply our best goalkeeper. You've got to have Angus Gunn in the starting 11. You just have to. Where from a Norwich perspective. Back four remains unchanged for me. Callum Fisher, right back, I can only second what you already said about him. He has just showcased so much talent as of late. He looks so comfortable in this team. And I'll say it again, as I usually do whenever I talk about him. He was playing National League football a season ago, 2 seasons ago even. He is phenomenal. For a player who had never played like professional football, he has just come into this team and been an absolute joy to watch as of late. So he's got to stay at right back. Centre halves, Duffy, and I've kept Cordoba because I know he didn't go to Panama for international duty. He was pulled out. So maybe that's helped. Maybe that has helped. But of course, we don't know just yet. We're recording this on a Tuesday and Torup hasn't done his press conference yet. So we don't know right now.
Can I butt in there?
Go on then.
I swear I thought I saw on the weekend that I saw that is in Panama on like his Instagram or something like that. I could be completely wrong here, and
maybe he went on holiday.
Comments. Where is Jose Cordova?
Yeah. Where is he?
Sorry that I look like an idiot, but I swear I saw him on his Instagram that it was in like another country. I swear it was Panama, but who knows?
Well, maybe he just went home, see the family over the break, maybe. Who knows? Maybe he just wasn't ready for the training yet and he went home for a little bit. But no, I'll start the man who we call the Panamanian devil. I'll get him at centre-half. Callum Doyle can play at left-back again and then end up being the third centre-half. And God, he's good. Too good. I won't rave on about Doyle because I'll be here for another hour if I do. Midfield 3, Kenny McLean is that sort of half-back, deep-lying playmaker role, just spraying the long balls forward if we need to, breaking it over that back four deep line of Stoke. Well, they may press a little bit higher now under Pelach, which is amazing if a Stoke team want to play a high defensive line. The game will be gone if I see that happen on Saturday. But no, and then I've also got Marcelino Nunez, if fit. And the only reason I'm starting him is because Emi Marcondes on the scrimmage, which was last night, he said live to a big audience over radio and actually anyone who watched it on video that he himself and Marcelino Nunez were going to be training on free kicks on Friday. So if Marcelino Nunez is fit enough to train and do free kicks the day before a game, he's fit enough to start, in my opinion. Get him in that 11. Play him, Torup. Get him in there. Nunez for me. And then I've gone with Anis Ben Slimane just for that physical factor that he brings and just he presses so hard off the ball and he makes it uncomfortable in a midfield battle. And he's only played 2 or 3 games for Norwich, but he's showcased in each game all that he's about. And I cannot believe he couldn't get a game for a team that got 15 points in the Premier League. I can't because he had so much to this Norwich midfield and he just looks like he's playing. He clearly wants to earn that permanent move just by the way he's showcased in how he's playing. He just fights for a whole time he's on the pitch. Just so physical, and he adds what Norwich have really needed in their midfield as of late, and just a big burly presence who can just make it uncomfortable, win you the ball in high up areas on the pitch, create good turnovers in possession. And then the front 3, this is where my one change is. I don't start Ante Cieniac as much as I agree with what you've been saying about him, and there evidently is a player there, and he's starting to showcase it. But for me, what you said, you brought it up perfectly, and I have to sort of repeat that point of short-term output. I just don't feel as if I'm seeing enough to justify the price. But again, it can take time. I very much understand that. But as well, I think this is where the fan in me is really coming out of, I want to see a big money signing at the football team I support do well. Otherwise, I wonder why have the club spent that much money on a player who, if anything, is being shoehorned at points into this team because he's not a natural right winger. Maybe that's why the output hasn't been there. He is a natural striker, but he's not going to play at striker because we've got the man I'm going to start once again in Josh Sargent. We've got the Yankee yellow up front, and then we've got Borja Sainz on the left who, if you don't start Borja Sainz, you're not winning or getting a point in a game because without him, Norwich have got barely any other threat. But so my one change, I bring in Oscar the Ox. Oscar Svartal is on that right-hand side, because what you said can bring a lot in a different dynamic in attack. Even though he's not got the biggest of frames, he's physical. He can be a nasty player and win a lot of tackles, and he's got so much quality. At 18 years old, it's scary how good this boy could become. And Torup has said he wants him to be a Premier League player. He thinks he can be. He hopes it's with us. I hope it's with us. You probably think, watching, that it's with us. Will thinks it's with us as he's smiling away. But no, he's a great player, and I think he should start for this one, as maybe he could add a different dynamic that we may well need against Palac, who just knows so much about the team already, as we have covered. But so there you have it. I've even got this little thing drafted up. There you go. If you've forgotten who we've both said, there you go. You can get a bit more in-depth look at it and where we think in that little 4-3-3 formation where we expect the players to play. But Will, I can just see you in a little video. You've got your finger up.
Yeah, I do, mate. I do. I just want to say that this team that I've constructed here is if Nunez isn't fit. So obviously I would play Nunez, Samani, McLean as the midfield pivot. But I'm just saying, I think if Nunez isn't fit, then I would go for Thorson. But absolutely, I put Nunez, sorry, if he is fit. But I've gone on the fact that he won't be fit.
No, that's fair enough. That's very fair enough. But sort of the last point we'll go with before we sign off and we let you all go and enjoy the rest of your day. Just to very quickly touch on any threats you reckon for Stoke. Just quickly, is there anyone who stands out for you and you think could cause Norwich some issues?
Yeah, I think most of it comes from the wide threat, if I'm being honest with you. I actually read an interview from Ben Gibson, the former Norwich City player, and he was saying that he's been very, very, very impressed with their winger called Jean Hobey. He's got 3 assists this season in the Championship. He had to score a goal in the league, but he's got very, very good numbers. I think he's top. I think he's one of their top players for chances created this season as well. So a very, very good attacking threat. They've also got Louis Kumas actually on the opposite flank. Both of them do kind of rotate each game in terms of position. So you might see John Hobey and Kumas kind of rotate between the left and right throughout the whole game. On Saturday, whether he goes for those two remains to be seen, but I probably expect it to be. Kumas is a very, very direct winger. You can just tell he's from Liverpool, just so quick, direct, wants to make things happen, wants to get crosses into the box. And I'd be interested to see if Kate Gordon does play a bit in this game. He will get the better edge across this encounter. But yeah, I think those who are the main 2 threats that I'll be worried about going into this game. Obviously, Tom Cannon has scored 4 goals in the game recently, or against Portsmouth. So definitely a threat there as well. But although he did have a really good game against Portsmouth, I do generally think their threat comes from out wide, because they've got quite a robust midfield in the likes of Walter Berger and Jordan Thompson as well. But definitely their 2 wide men in the attacking area is going to be where I'm a bit worried for Norwich.
No, it could prove difficult, but let's hope that Fisher and whoever's at left back, whether that is Christ Sene or that is Callum Doyle, hopefully they can cope with them and just make it a tough afternoon for them. But there's your lot. There's your thoughts on the week to come, really, for Norwich City. 3 games in a week. By this time next week, in the next Nodge Spotlight, we're going to have 3 games to probably dissect. We may even do live streams for each of them, so keep your eyes peeled. And, of course, keep your eyes peeled for the podcasts, because although Jack's away for the next 3 weeks for them, we've got some guests lined up. So definitely keep your eyes peeled on the channel, because we've got some big videos coming up, hopefully. But anyway, there is your lot. That's what myself and Will think is going to happen at Stoke. They also, Norwich off to the Britannia at the weekend, Preston away on the Tuesday, or the midweek rather, just in case I've got that wrong and it's on Wednesday. I'll cover myself if I made the mistake. And then at home to Middlesbrough. 3 games that each compose their individual threat. But the way Norwich are playing, why don't you dare to dream? See if Norwich can maybe go 9 for 9. And as you said earlier, Will, that's promotion form. And this is a team who are showcasing promotion form. But it could all well change now. It's back after the international break. Norwich haven't played in 2 weeks, and it's a tough first game to come up. Every game is tough in this league. This has been the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel. This has been Nodge Spotlight with myself, Freddie Humphrey Wakefield, and Will Grant. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you have, do leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's goodbye for now, and we'll see you on the next video here on the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel.